This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Tired of losing in fantasy sports? Times are changing. Now it's just you versus the numbers. Prize Picks is the perfect place for you whether you are the biggest sports fan around or you're a seasoned vet in the daily fantasy space. On Prize Picks, you simply select 2 to 5 players and predict if they will go over or under their fantasy projection. Think Denny Hamlin is going to win the big race? Take his over and win real cash today. Prize Picks gives you the chance to win 10 times your money for getting 4 predictions correct. Entries are so simple. They can be made in less than 60 seconds. Sign up today at prizepicks.com or on the Prize Picks app and use code DIRTYAIR, that's DIRTYAIR, DIRTYAIR, to get a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. Prize Picks truly is daily fantasy simplified. All right, everybody, welcome back. This is episode 17 of Dirty Air, your number one podcast for all DFS gambling-related NASCAR talk. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Baumel, Gambling DFS Tips on Twitter. As always, I'm joined by Jason. He is back in his studio, no longer on his phone, somewhat mobile. Jason, what's up?
Hey, what's up, guys? Yeah, it's nice to actually get up and be able to get down the stairs and get back in the studio. Hopefully I sound a little better this week than I have in the past. I appreciate you all for bearing with me, but moving around, legs feeling good. Girl had a birthday party this weekend. I was in there on the electric dirt bike, jumping around with my cast on in the bounce house. So back to normal.
So everything seems back to normal. And as always, Brandon Cruz, DFS on Twitter. Brandon, what's up?
Howdy.
All right, so I'll ask you guys what I always ask you to start, and I'm also going to throw out, because we're obviously going to talk about that we've got all these conspiracies that NASCAR fixed this race for Chase Elliott to win at the end. We'll get into that or whatever. But Jason, before we get into that, obviously it's hard to kind of look at COTA from what it was because of the rain, and I think it was more so the fact that it was still raining and it was the windshield. It wasn't necessarily how wet the track was at points. It's hard to judge it, but Jason, was it a good race?
I thought it was a pretty good race. I mean, yeah, it was a fun race to watch. It was nice to see the guys out of their comfort zone, not seeing. Like, I didn't like to not be able to see. I would say that right now. But I mean, just racing in the rain, on the edge, seeing guys get loose. I mean, that's how you make a road course exciting in my book. If not, we probably would have been a long, drawn-out race. It seems like it probably would have ran like the Daytona road course. It didn't seem like it was a track that was going to produce a lot of excitement because it's just such a technical track. I feel like there was just guys who had such a big advantage over some other guys in there. I think the rain may neutralize it, made it a little bit more of an exciting race. But, yeah, I enjoyed it. I was entertained.
Well, I'll tell you, when I saw the accident with, what was it? It was it was Truex, and then Custer ran into the back of him afterwards. And everyone's like, this is too dangerous. They can't be racing. This is all knowing Brandon like I didn't even have to go to Twitter. I knew Brandon's reaction was like, this is awesome. Brandon, was that the best race you've ever seen, probably?
I mean, it was, so a couple things here. Like, that race was long. Like, I said that Sunday on my live show from the Xfinity race. I was like, dude, by the end of that, I was like, this is a long race. Sunday was going to be long. It took them 4 hours to get to where they were when they red flagged the race. And they still had, like, at least 40 minutes of racing left. Like, that is a long.
It was long, yeah.
Oh, long race. So, because, like, the race was boring. Like, COTA's a bad track for stock cars. Everybody gets spread out. That's why the rain was the only way to make it interesting. It would have been super, super boring. And Ryan, you didn't say how I reacted either. You just said, oh, you figured out, enjoyed it. So everybody's on Twitter saying, oh, it's too dangerous. Oh, we need to take these people. How did I react, Ryan?
That you basically said that NASCAR has shown that they don't care about driver safety, and that if you expect them to stop this race at this point, that you're crazy.
I was hoping more word for word, but I was entertained during the wrecks because
there was one tweet you had that just said "woo." That was another one.
Yeah. So I'm there eating pizza in the living room with my dog on the couch, and I'm kind of not really paying attention to the race because it's boring. And then I just see Custer and Truex try and kill each other, and I was like, man, that's awesome. What a crash. What a race, man. It's very rare that NASCAR attempts to kill 4 drivers within a 20-minute period. But we did it.
And I'll say that thank God none of them were killed. I know Brandon maybe have other wishes, but I will say, accidents and crashes are always fun to watch.
What did the
but it's fun
radio
to see him
sound
get
like?
out of the car.
Were the guys complaining a lot on the radios about not seeing, or did it all of a sudden start getting heavy? Because you know how like rainstorms can happen, right? You guys can. That's a big track. Like, was it downpouring where those guys came through that straight 10 times in a row complaining and NASCAR ignored it, or was it like it just rained hard right there when they got through it and that was just this happened to be going down and they couldn't see it? It was like, like you're driving down the highway, right? Mm-hmm. And everything's fine, and all of a sudden you'll hit a patch. It's like, oh shit, I can't see. And then you slow down and get. I mean, is it that instant? Obviously, like, but you can't like if you're going to race in the rain. The decision they made. It's like, what can you? If that is the instance where it just happened to pop up, quick storm, or just over that part of the track at a bad time or whatever, then like, how do you throw the caution like sporadically? You know what I mean? Obviously, I think sending them back out after the Harvick wreck was probably not the right call. But I don't know. Was it not raining as hard then? And it's like, well, I guess we can go back out. Like, I don't know.
It sounded like some of the issues on the backstretch were that some of the guys were like, I can't see, but fuck it, I'm still going 170 miles an hour because I got a race to win. And other guys were like, I can't see, I'm going 140, 150. And I think that was the issue. Was that because somebody ran into the back of McDowell? It looked like McDowell was going 40 miles an hour or something like that. It's just, I think that's what guys were complaining about was you couldn't see the car in front. It wasn't necessarily you couldn't see the track. It was that you couldn't see the other cars, which I guess is probably an issue when you're going 170 miles an hour during the one backstretch.
Shout out to Bubba, man. All the crap I give him, and he has some balls to just full throttle. Not a care in the world. Oh, man. Hats off to you, Bubba.
But I mean, he's got win orders from his boss.
He's got win orders, man. He don't care if it's rain, shine. He's full throttle. Don't matter what he's doing.
Isn't that another part of it, though? Like, I mean, you're, like, Custer's driving that car. Like, I understand you're racing and everybody's racing, but, like, when I'm on the highway, like, obviously it's different, I know, but I mean, you slow down, right? Like, I mean, like, just to keep going like, full throttle.
I think that was the issue. Is like some of the guys' mentality was Bubba, like, screw it, I got a race to win, and others were like, I probably
can't see
70 miles an hour when I can't see. Like, that's I'd like to not break my back hitting another car at 170 miles an hour.
This is the top echelon of motorsports, man. All these guys have 100,000 IQ. These are the best drivers ever. Obviously, they all made the right call. I think that's
well. And I'm just saying, like, if that's the instant to where it was just the shower, it got heavy at that point when those guys were going to the track, and it's like really NASCAR could have done something. Let's say NASCAR, like, if that's the case, and isn't it on the drivers to slow down there? I mean, if like. You can't expect NASCAR to be able to instantly flip the yellow. Like, they don't know if it's happened instantly. Like I said, if it's the drivers complaining lap after lap, like, we can't see, then yeah, I think you can put on NASCAR. But just a quick, I don't think NASCAR is like, oh, I don't care if guys get hurt. I mean, that's. I don't
so let's get into that part, and that leads into how the race finished. And you've got always NASCAR Twitter you've got the people that love Chase Elliott and say Chase Elliott won the race, and they will always say that. And then you've got the other side, if you don't like Chase Elliott, that NASCAR fixed the race, NASCAR fixes the playoffs, NASCAR wants Chase Elliott to win. I am choosing to believe that NASCAR is not doing that. Now, this is how I see it from a casual fan, and you guys tell me how you see it in different ways. So obviously, even Larson, who was second, and even in his own words, said basically that he would have been handed a win because Chase Elliott would have had to pit. I mean, obviously, unless there was multiple cautions and Chase Elliott was able to somehow save 6 miles of fuel or 7 miles of fuel. But Larson basically said, yes, at that point, that race had to be stopped, and even though I would have been handed the win, he agreed with the decision. Now, here's my point of view. I think the issue is that Chase Elliott was 2 laps short. So, like Brandon said, they'd already been running for 4 hours. To get to the point where Chase Elliott's going to be out of fuel, I mean, you're looking at, 18 laps left, 16 laps left, something like that? I think you're probably looking at another 30 minutes of racing until Chase Elliott runs out of fuel. It's not like Chase Elliott was about to run out of fuel. I think if he was a lot more than 2 laps short and we wouldn't have been racing for another 30 minutes, I think NASCAR may have done what we saw last time with the tire and let the pit cycles go through and do all of that and give Kyle the win. But I think the issue was, one, like I said, he had that much to go. And also, it's different when you have your drivers coming out and going on TV immediately. I mean, these aren't drivers. No offense to some of these other drivers, but this is Martin Truex. This is Kevin Harvick. These are 2 of your top drivers. And I think NASCAR made the point, and I think they admitted to it. and it's very rare for NASCAR to admit they made a mistake. I think NASCAR admitted they made a mistake. Now, are they admitting they made a mistake because the two top stars said something? Maybe. But I think it's okay to give them somewhat the benefit of the doubt and say, hey, we made a mistake earlier in the race. We heard what the driver said. We're not trying to kill anybody, contrary to popular belief. I think this race needs to be stopped. Jason, what are your thoughts?
I mean, you can throw the yellow flag. You can throw the red flag. Why are we canceling the race? I mean, why are we canceling the broadcast and pulling down the scaffolding and stuff? I mean, they had plenty of daylight. It was Texas. I mean, it was going to be daylight here for another 3 hours. I mean, like, why not get back out there and race? Like,
right, and I guess even some of the other drivers were saying that once they threw that yellow flag and the red flag, that they weren't going back out there. Now, Brandon, obviously you're somewhat closer to that area of the country than we are. It sounded like they didn't think it was going to stop anytime soon. It's like, we're not going to waste 5 more of your hours because there's no reason to wait here. I mean, what were your thoughts in the end?
I guess answering that point, I don't know if it was supposed to rain all day. Like, hello. Oh, they're like, oh, it's raining. Hello? Have you guys looked up at all in the past, 2 days? What are you talking about? I didn't see when they brought him into pit road. I was out walking my dog and I came back and I saw him in pit road, and I was like, okay, well, I guess they'll be racing a bit. And I sat back down. I saw Elliott celebrate, and I was like, "What? What just happened?"
Yeah, why not just throw the yellow and ride until it slows up a little bit and start racing again? Like, what made that decision? Like, I don't understand it. Like, and this is the problem when you're NASCAR and you set a precedent like you did a few weeks ago when you called the tire and said we want it, and you decided you wanted to let pit strategy flow through, and that tire wasn't a danger until it was a danger. It's like, then why is not this philosophy here? I mean, you let a guy whose pit strategy didn't fall through. You called the race in the middle of it. You disregarded the safety hazard before. Like, this is what's wrong when you're not following your own rule book and just making shit up as you go, and you just make up your press. Like any other sport. Like, can you imagine watching a football game and then having the delay for lightning, and they say, well, we're just gonna fucking call it, guys. We're done.
So, but how many? Obviously, it's
Chad Johnson had a pretty serious concussion in the first half, and the guys don't want. We talked to the guys; they don't want to go back out on the field and play. We're just gonna go ahead and call the game.
So, but how many? Obviously, it's different because they're longer laps, so caution laps obviously take longer. But how many caution laps do you run till you throw the red flag? Because if you run 4 caution laps while you're trying to
longer, I mean, you just.
But even if you do that, then you've got the other people being like, "Oh, they're handing Chase Elliott the race still. They're trying to."
But
they're doing it both ways in that mindset. Because if you're saying we're going to run 5 or right, no, I agree, but it sounded in Brandon's point of view that we were going to be waiting 2 hours till we were racing again, and then it was probably still going to be raining.
I'm not saying you're not going to wait till it stops freaking raining. You're going to wait till it lets up on the backstretch where they're calling the issue, right?
Look at rain throughout the day and throughout the next day in over there in Austin. Like, they would have been racing in the rain to begin with. But I find it's the same thing back to Bristol. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know what they were dealing with. They ran into conditions that I guess nobody ever brought up in a meeting, and so they just kind of like, okay, single file. Hopefully that fixes it. Here it's like, I don't know. All we have are, we got some Rain-X. Put that on the windshield. Good luck, guys. Like,
and I don't think it's NASCAR fixing the race. I think it's just NASCAR making these freaking gut calls all the time. Like, you got to have the rules and protocol in place and fucking follow them and make your decision. Like, where does it say in the rule book that when we're racing on rain tires and it's been raining all day and visibility is getting low, but we still got 4 hours of daylight, we're going to go ahead and call the race. We want to cancel the race anytime after the halfway if it's red flag. Like, that's not a rule, so I don't know why that decision was made. And typically you would think you'd want them to get the race in.
And in classic NASCAR fashion, just really not having a sense for the moment or really understanding what's going on after the race, announcing that multiple drivers were going to Richmond to test out rain tires. I mean, you just had this huge controversy. You're like, oh, by the way, we've got a couple drivers going to test out. Now, we're going to tell you it's got nothing to do with if it's raining, just if the track's wet. It's like, who cares? Nobody's reading into that. You just had an issue with rain. Let's not be like, hey, Joey Logano is going to Richmond tomorrow to test out these rain tires.
Hey guys, we're going to call the race. Cool Custer is going to go test some rain tires in Richmond. So I want to bring this up before we continue on. So yet again, I'm eating pizza, kind of half paying attention. I see them wrecking. Dude, guys, I thought Stenhouse was going to lock those tires up and whack Custer as he was getting out of that car. I thought we were going to witness.
Oh my god, dude!
I thought we were going to witness
so
another
too.
F1 situation
like,
with the safety
But
marshal and fire.
he had no choice. I mean, that car caught on fire.
You okay, Custer? I know you almost died because you almost hit an unprotected Armco barrier, but man, getting out in the middle, like you just hit someone because you can't see. That is. Oh man, dude!
I know, but if your car is being engulfed in flames, I mean that car went from no fire to a lot of fire quickly in front of him,
and then to no fire and pretty quickly too. I mean, you could. I mean, I know I'm not in there, but Jesus Christ, I was just with Brandon. I was like, oh my god! I'm like I put my hands on my head,
dude.
I'm like, oh my
no,
god!
I agree. It's just like almost a lose-lose situation. Like, do I sit in a car and hope the fire doesn't get me, or do I get out and hope that fucking Ricky Stenhouse doesn't hit me at 160 miles an hour?
You know, I've had nightmares about watching that exact scenario on TV of a driver getting out and just a random car hitting them and seeing their body fly. Like I thought it was playing out in front of me, dude. Like I was like,
Stewart just hit that guy.
Oh,
you know, that's just one of those. It's like, I don't know. My dumb brain was like he could just sit in the car because the rain's going to put the fire out. Now, if that's true or not, I don't know how hard it was raining and all whatever. But yeah, but it seemed, and I know obviously getting out of the car was a little bit different of what was going on. But Brandon, it seemed at that point like now we're at a player safety or driver safety issue. Like we've got guys.
So it took a car catching on fire in the rain and nearly flipping another car over for them to be like, okay, we're kind of too far.
And the guy getting out of the car. It took that.
NASCAR has had so many close calls the last 5 years, specifically the last 3, but the last 5 of drivers nearly dying, and they're not taking precautions. That's why I'm like, dude, they don't care about the drivers. Why should we? We've gotten inches away from people dying, and it's nearly like every 3 months at this point in NASCAR. And they're just
I will say it did look like at least the safety crew got to him faster than I expected, based on how you've explained how safety crews get around a 3.5 mile road track. I expected Custer to basically not. I expected Custer to be like out of the ambulance by the time the safety crew got there. And it seemed like they got there in a decent amount of time.
Well, no, I mean, like he hit an entry or an exit to where the safety crew leaves. So I mean, they have a lot of entrances for the safety crews to get there. It's not like they leave pit road and drive around the whole track.
Right, but isn't there's like a protocol, because obviously they can't go out if Ricky Stenhouse is still driving the back stretch at 170 miles an hour, right? Isn't there like a I assume maybe that's on me, and I'll put my hand up. Maybe that's me giving NASCAR too much credit, that there's a protocol in place for these safety vehicles to make sure they're not Ricky Stenhouse isn't hitting the safety vehicle, which is then hitting Cole Custer and driving him 200 yards forward.
Well, let's be honest, nobody can see. Nobody knew how fast Ricky Stenhouse was going except Ricky Stenhouse. And if he doesn't know there's a caution, then I mean, what's your protocol? Wait till there's a caution. The caution is out, but the spotters couldn't even see the cars back there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if there's a protocol. I don't know how it would work, but I assume there has to be. And obviously it's different because it's very, very rare that NASCAR is racing like that in the rain, where you can't, see something like that. But I
think we're going to only race in the rain from now on. I think NASCAR.
That's what Brandon would want.
Right, man. Dude, that wreck was awesome, man. I was kind of disappointed when Truex didn't flip over and then block the rest of the track, but man, that was wild.
I'm sure Harvick looked just like it. We just sent him a video of it.
Yeah, so, leave it to Fox. Even with the rain, we don't have a single camera looking at the track straight away.
Getting into a little bit of the actual race itself. So the stat that I saw, and I think Boyer said it's not very often you see the 4-car torn up like that. I think the stat was that was his first DNF since 2019, so I guess 2 years, something like that. Harvick, obviously one of those guys that always seems to be there in the end, finishing races doing that. But his Stewart-Haas teammate, Jason, another good outing for Chase Briscoe, maybe starting to turn the corner a little bit. I know road racing is a little bit different, but he had a little bit of speed and had a decent finish.
I mean, Briscoe, he's always been a decent road course racer. It's the low downforce. I mean, the high horsepower, low downforce package. I mean, more similar to the Xfinity. It didn't really surprise me that Briscoe ran good. We'll see how he does over the coming weeks on these 1.5 miles and going back to the 550 horsepower package. But
so if
it's too early to tell he's turned. Like I said, I think it's a little too early to think that he's turned the tables. But I mean, we're keep getting him at this price. I think it's definitely going to keep playing him probably.
So that's what I was going to say, is especially if, let's say, he keeps struggling on the 1.5 miles or the 550s, if DraftKings is going to keep pricing him in that 6K range, depending, maybe even a little lower, depending on how he finishes at those road courses, that might be the chance to hop back on if DraftKings isn't really looking at that, Brandon, right?
I don't know. Like, I can't take anything away from last week to look at anything. There's no data I want to look at from last week that would have any impact on how I view anybody looking forward this year. Other than the guys who did well in the beginning of the race, but I mean that's kind of obvious.
So then the final question I'll ask to Jason: the Watermelon Man seems having some more decent finishes.
Yeah,
Seems like
top 5, right? Is this his first top 5 of the season?
Yeah, I think he finished 4th, and
there we go. Melon Man's got top 5 this year, Brandon.
Getting more out of that 42 than Kenseth got pretty much all of last year. Is Chastain a guy going forward? I mean, obviously we've seen him drive in all 3 series. We've seen him do it. I mean, if he's going to keep being some sort of value play, he seems to be.
He's going to break your heart eventually.
We've been playing the same guys the last 2 months. The 7K and 6K have been the exact same guys the entire time. We're playing the same value guys every week.
Suarez,
Stenhouse,
Chastain,
Jones,
Buescher.
Wallace, Chastain, Buescher, Suarez, Newman, Briscoe, Paris. It's the same thing every week. It's just whoever starts farther back or who has a chance to finish farther up. That's all it is.
And I will say that I did cure my addiction 2 weeks ago. I did stop putting Alfredo on my pasta because I was playing him every single week. He had, I think, one valuable week for me, and it was just like, I'm going to pick these guys that are actually finishing halfway decent. That was my strategy. It seemed to have worked. Anything else from last week before we get into this week?
I think we can move on to the Coke 600.
Let's
I
do
think
it.
we're all good to go.
Coca-Cola 600, Charlotte Motor Speedway, 600 miles. Longest race of the year, 400 laps, all 4 stages, 100 laps. So instead of 3 stages, we do 4 stages, 100 laps apiece. The qualifying will be Saturday afternoon, so obviously that'll depend on, where you're looking at in terms of place differential, dominators, all that kind of stuff. Jason, it is a long race. There's a lot of laps. It means you want a dominator. We're at Charlotte. We're at night. Is Martin Truex going to lead 400 laps?
Man, I mean, yeah, it would look like it, right? Truex has definitely been the man, the dominator here at Charlotte in recent history. I mean, he's been in the optimal lineup 4 of the last 4 races here. 4 of the last 4 Coca-Cola 600s, he's been in the optimal lineup. The only thing that would concern me about Truex going into this week, though, is he hasn't exactly shown the speed on the 1.5 miles that would indicate him being able to go out here and dominate Charlotte. But I mean, God, it's so hard. It would be so hard to not play Truex this week. But I would think that if you're looking for a reason to fade him, it would be that everybody's going to be on him. And if we look at so far this year on the similar tracks that I'm looking at, or kind of like Charlotte, is like Kansas, Las Vegas, a little bit of Atlanta. Atlanta's a little bit more high tire wear, but Truex didn't really show great speed there. He didn't get more than 4 dominator points in one of those races. Finished 6th, 9th, and 6th. So there's definitely a little bit of cause for concern there.
So, Brandon, I think if one of the other guys, if you're looking for somebody else, could be a potential dominator if you're going away from Truex. One of the guys, when I was looking up some of the stats that stood out over the last 4 races, Chase Elliott's been great here. Chase Elliott's got 3 top 5s. He's got a win. His worst finish is 11th. Chase Elliott finally starting to show some speed. Hendricks has obviously been good all year. What are your thoughts on Chase Elliott here?
So I'm going to defer to how they've done in DFS versus their actual finishing positions. So this is the numbers I'm going to call for a lot of drivers are. And it's starting with the second Charlotte race last year, because they raced there 3 times last year with the Roval and the 2 COVID races. So the second oval race there, the Coca-Cola 600 from last year, the Coca-Cola 600 from 2019, 2018, the fall race in 2017, the spring race in 2017, and then the fall race in 2016. So we kind of already mentioned Truex, but I'll mention him again. His rank in DFS in those races have been 11th, 1st, 2nd, 1st, and 21st. Elliott has been 1st, 3rd, 4th, 9th, 4th, 40th, and 10th. And then people like Kyle Busch, 35th, 10th, 3rd, 1st, 34th, 2nd, 7th. Harvick, 2nd, 6th, 10th, 34th, 1st, 7th, 39th. And like Ryan Blaney, 6th, 5th, 13th, 39th, 10th, 35th, and 33rd. Those are the guys I'm going to be looking at. Now, I already know this week I'm going to probably play, 15 lineups again, just because the way that this race goes is if you don't get those fast laps, whether it's 1 Dominator, 2 Dominator, 3, it's not even worth making a lineup. You need to get those guys who lead laps and get the fast laps. So I'm going to make sure I have a Larson lineup, Truex lineup, Hamlin, Elliott, Kyle Busch, Harvick, Keselowski, Bowman, Blaney, and I know that seems excessive, but whether I'm making 1 Dominator lineups, 2 Dominator lineups, I'm going to have everybody, pretty much inside the 10K and probably the 9K range in a lineup this week, just to try and nail whoever gets those laps led.
If you're looking for the guy that like I think that who I like the most going into this week, it's not going to be Kyle Larson. It's not going to be Martin Truex. The guy I'm looking at that I like the most going this week is Kyle Busch. You look at just what he's done here, Charlie. He's got second behind Truex in the last 10 races for laps led here. I love the fact that we're going back to having practice. We see a big difference with Kyle Busch having practice. He's going to get that this week. He's been good on the Mile and a Half. He won at Kansas this year. Won at Texas last year with 40-plus Dominator points. There's a lot lining up for Kyle Busch to go out and have a big day this week, and I could definitely see him putting up a big day over Truex and Larson.
And Kyle Busch was the next guy I was going to bring. I'm glad you did, because he had a stat that jumped out to me. The last 4 races at Charlotte, so obviously that's kind of where my stats are. The last 4 races at Charlotte, Kyle Busch has led 456 laps. That's not an accident.
And just the last 4 Coca-Cola 600s, the combo of Truex, Kyle Busch has been in the optimal lineup.
And I think that's...
The last 4.
Was any of them together?
They were together in 3 of the last 4 optimal lineups. They were together, paired. So Truex and Kyle Busch was there in 2019. Truex and Kyle Busch were there in 2018. Truex and Kyle Busch were there in 2017. Just last year, it was Truex, Elliott, Blaney. It was kind of a 3-dom lineup. Well, actually, it was Truex, Bowman, Elliott, Blaney. So 4 guys over 8,000, and then Custer, McDowell, 2 punts.
So if we're looking at their teammate as well, we talked about Truex and Kyle Busch. Brandon, thoughts on Denny Hamlin this week? Obviously, I know you mentioned that you're going to have a little of kind of all of them to try and get, which one of them. But if we're looking at these kind of guys, what are your thoughts on Denny compared to the others?
So, I can't figure Denny out this year. Every time I'm on him, every time I don't see anything, he does well. Anytime I go out of my way to make sure I have Hamlin, he doesn't do anything. I've been absolutely horrible with picking out Hamlin. If I had to rank guys who I think are going to be, the fastest guys on the track, I think it's Larson, Harvick, and Kyle Busch. So Hamlin would probably fall to 4th or 5th in that. Hopefully that answers your question. That's why I'm playing Hamlin. I cannot get him down no matter what. Even if he's fastest in practice and everything's pointing me towards him, I always struggle with Hamlin.
I've been pretty good at picking Hamlin this year, and I don't like Hamlin this week. I don't think, like I said, him or Truex really hasn't showed speed on the mile and a half, and I think that's concerning going into a 600-mile race. Obviously, he's good at managing his car, but tire wear isn't as big of an issue here at Charlotte. So that's one of his biggest strengths, I think, in the race car, is being able to manage his tires. And this is a track he's only led 190 laps in the last 10 races here. 6 top 5, 7 top 10s. He's been good, but I just haven't seen that real dominator speed on the mile and a half. Actually, his last dominator performance on a mile and a half would have been 55 dominator points back in the second Vegas race. So 6 or 7 mile and a halves ago.
So you're talking about the speed that we've seen at the mile and a halves. We've talked about it all year. Hendrick Motorsports, they've been fast at the mile and a halves. They've been good all year. One of the stats that I saw that surprised me, Alex Bowman does not have the finishes here you necessarily might think out of him. He does have a 9th and a 7th, but he's got a 19th and a 31st his last 4. He did lead 164 laps from the pole 2 races ago, and he did lead 51 laps in the last race here. So obviously has showed some speed. In the race where he led 164 laps, he won the first 2 stages. So obviously having the pole is it beneficial, but you've still got to have the car to be leading 200 laps. Jason, what are your thoughts, Alex Bowman, this week?
I think Bowman has his finishes at Charlotte wasn't great last year. You pointed that out, but if we looked, he scored 26 Dominator points in the second Charlotte race and 67 in the first. So like I said, you pointed that out. That's very promising. And when we look at how he finished the year last year on the mile and a half, but that stretch of Texas, Kansas, Vegas, we saw what he's capable of doing when he doesn't have that bad luck. Finishes a 5th, 3rd, 5th. put up 22, 10, and 11 Dominator points in that stretch of 3 races. And this year as well, he's already got a top 3 at Atlanta. And still some terrible finishes there at Kansas, Las Vegas, but you like that he's showing fast laps, putting up 6 to 7 Dominator points in those races. So yeah, I definitely going to like Bowman. And I believe he actually did show up in 2 of the last 4 optimal lineups. Alex Bowman made its way in there. So.
And Brandon, since I'm not creative enough to ask a better question, since I'll ask what everyone asks after Alex Bowman, thoughts on William Byron?
I also want to add this to Bowman. If you look back at his last 4 races, 3 of his last 4 have been in the top 10 DFS points, 29th, 2nd, 7th, and 5th. And so, Hendrick is looking really good here. Byron, now, the issue with Byron this year is that he's been starting like 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and he just isn't leading. Like, he isn't getting out. He's always, kind of listed as a potential dominator. This is a type of race to where I could see Byron actually leading. Like, like I said, I'm playing everyone, but talking as if I'm interested or not interested in him. Like, I would actually like Byron more than Bowman this week.
Really?
My thought was Byron could almost do what Bowman did 2 races ago, where qualify to the pole, qualify close to the top, lead maybe 100, 150 laps early, and kind of then just, if gets past and kind of get shuffled back a little bit, still finish 5th, 7th in that range, but get maybe 150 laps led. Brandon, is that kind of the thought, or are you thinking he might lead later in the race?
Yeah, because if you look at intermediate rankings this year, go to Race of the Prize to get these, or raceoftheprize.com to get them in more detail. But if you look at the top 3, I mean, it's Larson, Byron, and Denny Hamlin. Like, those are the top 3 guys this year on these tracks. And in a situation,
a lot of that weighted to Homestead, though.
It's Homestead, Las Vegas, Atlanta. I mean, all that.
He put up a monster performance at Homestead. I mean, the rest of the 3, he didn't really.
Yeah, but he's been running in the top 5
he ran
the entire time.
But, I mean, Dominator speed.
If this was the Winston Cup points, he'd be in 2nd. I mean, he's doing an amazing job this year, being consistent. He just hasn't been able to get to the lead.
So, Jason, we haven't talked at all about Penske, Logano, Keselowski, Blaney. I don't really know kind of what the questions to ask with them are. I think it's just there. Keselowski, looking at his stats here, seems like the kind of guy that hasn't been great, but Keselowski is the guy that in a 600-mile race could be the guy who's been pretty slow all day and somehow finds himself at a final restart with a chance to win the race. What are your thoughts on Brad Keselowski?
Are you coming to me with that one?
Yeah.
Sorry, you were broken up quite a bit for there, so I don't know. We're talking about Brad Keselowski?
Yep, sorry, it's storming here, so if my internet goes down, sorry.
It's all good. Yeah, I think we saw him just do precisely that last year here in the Coke 600. Was there at the end, won. I think you could definitely see him do that again. When we look at just history here, he's got 7 top 10s in the last 10 races, 3 top 5s. He just hasn't shown the ability to lead a whole lot of laps here, but I can definitely, if he shows speed in practice and he's qualifying up towards the front, I mean, he's shown the ability to have some Dominator points this year on these mile and a halves. He finished 3rd at Kansas for 26 Dominator points, and finished 2nd at Vegas for 20. Those are pretty similar to what we're going to see at Charlotte, so I expect him, if he can show some speed in practice and qualifies up towards the front, I'm definitely going to have some interest in Brad Keselowski.
Brandon, out of his teammates, Logano and Blaney, who would you have more interest in as of right now?
Well, like I was saying, I like Blaney as well. If you look at how he's been, he's $9,000. Compare him to, his teammates. I actually like Blaney this week. I know it's not a flat track. I know it's typically not a race that Blaney should do well at. But I mean, last year they were awesome. We're seeing that Penske has been really quick at the intermediate tracks, Las Vegas, Atlanta. I mean, Blaney won that race, thanks to his teammate. I like Blaney going into this week, like more so than usual.
Jason, similar thoughts, Blaney over Logano if you had to choose?
Yeah. I think Blaney showed some solid speed here, and it's solid speed on the mile and a half. So yeah, I would definitely. It's like I said, it's all going to come down to how they qualify. But yeah, I definitely would like Blaney for his price. Oh, I mean, Logano's right there too, 8,800. I see. I don't know. I have to think about that one a little bit more.
So, Jason, another driver that's been pretty decent here over the last 4 races. Ricky Stenhouse has an average finish of 10, I believe it's 10.5, something like that. He's got 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s in the last 4. Any interest in Ricky Stenhouse this week?
Yeah, I like Stenhouse. This is going to be one of his. This is actually one of his better tracks if you look at just statistically. He's only finished outside the top 20 twice in his entire career here. Top 5 in 2 of the last 3 Charlotte races, and he's finished top 12 in like the 3 of the last 4 similar tracks from this season. So I think that's definitely bodes well for Stenhouse having another top 12, top 10 potential run. I think he finished fifth in 2019, 4th in the second race here at Charlotte last year. So I mean, they're a team that's proven, especially in these long, drawn-out races, they'll take some chances. You know, you're going to have plenty of opportunities of a green flag pit stop. Tire wear is not big of an issue. Staying out and trying to catch that caution. We've seen this team take that chance, and he can find his way in the top 5, top 10.
Brandon, another guy's been decent at the 1.5 miles this year. Chris Buescher is 6,700 this week. Obviously, it depends on where he qualifies. If he qualifies, top 5, kind of doesn't give you that much room for place differential. But if he's qualifying kind of in that 15th, 20th range, any interest in Chris Buescher at 6,700?
I want to add on to what you said there. I don't think there's going to be much place differential in this race. Like, where you qualify for the World 600 is where you're pretty much going to run in this race. I don't see, unless somebody just absolutely whiffs a Q lap, I see everybody starting where they should finish, and trying to imagine how lineup construction is going to go. Stenhouse at 7,400, Christopher at 8,600. These are guys who should finish inside the top 12. And because of that, I think both these guys are going to be in the top 14 in DFS points this week.
So I'm going to ask you this question, and I don't take no for an answer.
No.
Bubba Wallace is $7,000. Tell me how Bubba Wallace wins the race this weekend.
Who are you asking this to?
Brandon.
They need to bring that cable camera back. Maybe that drone will hit the big screen. It'll just tip over and kill half the field on the back.
You've seen the end of
face slap.
You've seen the end of Talladega Nights, right? And when they all wreck, right, and then they get out and start running to the finish line. Something like that.
We're saying Bubba's not. So we're saying Bubba's not winning. Is that what?
Well, I mean, Austin Dillon did win here 3 years ago. So I mean, I guess it's.
Yeah, but he's in the 3 car. He's got that Earnhardt magic here. This is. Yeah. Oh man, poor Bubba.
So you get a couple of those other guys in that 6K range that we've talked about that kind of been the chalk that we've played all year that have been decent. Jason Chastain is 6,900. Suarez is 6,500. Newman 6,400. Any interest in these guys?
Yeah, I think the guy who I probably like the most in that range is going to be Daniel Suarez. He's got 3 top 20s on 1.5 miles this season, and 2 of those have been on tracks that are pretty similar to Charlotte. What we saw him finish. This team just always finds a way to make the best out of terrible situations, and they're always pushing hard, it seems like, and their finishes is starting to rack it up. I mean, everybody's going to be on Chastain this week. I imagine these guys are going to start around the same area, and I would just much rather go to Suarez over Chastain. I think Chastain's going to break our hearts at some point. And
Tell me,
more and more people are just jumping on the Chastain train every week, and it's going to end badly. And 600 miles, Chastain has to make it 600 miles this week.
Tell me why you think people are going to play Chastain, because this whole time I've seen him as I'm playing him when he's low owned. He's more like a pivot. Why is Chastain becoming that one guy that everybody wants to play each and every week?
He's been finishing, right? He's been top 14, top 15 in that range, and he's been starting 20th, 19th. I mean, when you look at the guys he's been normally up against, it's like him or like a McDowell starting 22nd, or I can't think of them all, but he's typically just seems to be that play, because he's been running solid. He's been running top 14, top 15, top 12. It shows he's had a good car. Because
to me, it just seems like play as much Ryan Newman as you can. That's just what I'm seeing.
This week?
Yeah, I mean, I would just. Obviously, it depends where he qualifies.
Right, yeah.
But, in the 6K range, give me all the Newman I could handle,
Okay. You like an old Newman this week, huh?
I would it just seems like Newman just seems like the chalk. And that's why I was asking why you think it's Chastain, because it just seems like Newman should be the play here.
Huh, that's interesting. I guess Newman should probably run around 15, 16, 17, somewhere in that range. If they qualify. It's, like I said, it's going to come down to how they qualify. I just seem like Chastain, just coming off a 5th place finish, he's definitely finished better than Newman in recent weeks, right? Let me see here.
Well, if you look at like race rating, compared, let's compare Newman, Suarez, and Chastain, because you like Suarez, and I'm not too high on him this week. So we'll even look at Dover. We'll count that. Chastain had a race rating of 15th. Suarez had 13th. Newman had 26th. So give that to Suarez. Heading over to Darlington, Chastain 14th, Suarez 23rd, Ryan Newman 15th. Looking at Kansas, Chastain 16th, Suarez 18th, Newman 23rd. We'll look at Atlanta as well. Chastain 17, Suarez 15, Newman 14th. Let's throw in Las Vegas as well. Chastain 23rd, Suarez 24th, Newman 21st. I would think that Roush is going to bring a really good car this week.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So last week, go ahead, Brennan.
So the last thing I was going to say is if you look at how Newman's ran in this equipment, he's pretty much going to be a 17th place driver, and that's typically where Chastain's been finishing weekly. These last month. I don't know, like to me it just seems like play as much Newman as you can with how I think lineup construction is going to go. I don't think he can get to that 6,900.
I would agree with you that I would think Newman is definitely would be a safer play. Like I think because I would think most likely, right, they're both probably going to wind up like Chastain finished 14th, 15th, and Newman probably 4th. They're all going to probably run around that same area. So I would just think like a guy like Chastain is probably going to be a guy who's viewed as a guy with more upside. Like of those two, who do you think can finish? Who would you think was going to finish top 10 out of those two? Is probably going to be Chastain. Like I think that's just a perception with him running top 5 last week. He's just seems like he's been faster. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong with what people are thinking here. But I think if they both qualify the same price, the same, I think a lot of people will go Chastain.
I gotcha.
So if we're looking to start our lineups with Truex and Kyle or Truex and Chase, it leaves you about 7,100, 7,200 for the rest of your lineup. It might entice you to throw some sort of a punt in there. We played Quinn Hoff at some point at 4,800. Brandon, any thoughts on any of these punts, or are you not looking to do that?
Why is Quinn so freaking cheap lately? Like he's
better.
better.
4,500.
He's the best,
lowest price driver.
He's the best back marker. Him and BJ McLeod have the best equipment. Why has he been last in these races here?
I mean,
especially on oval.
You're looking at his recent finishes, past 2 at the ovals, 30th and 29th. I mean, they're
yeah, his car can make the race. Rick Ware weekly is having issues, finishing a 300-mile race.
So are you looking to play any punts, or because it sounds like if you are, it would be Quinn Hoff, or are you not kind of trying to go below that?
It's Quinn Hoff. If you're punting, it's Quinn Hoff. And the last, what was it? Probably Dover. I think that was when he was a lot lower than I thought he would be. For all the talk of, optimizer want to shut him in, if you're punting and go here, he wasn't that highly owned. I think he was like 4 or 3%. And that's not bad at all for the savings that he gives you. So I'll most likely, if I'm playing 15 to 20 lines, I'll probably have 30% health. That's not a lot. What is that, like 6, 8 lineups, somewhere around there? And so, 8 out of 20 lineups, 6 out of 20 lineups with Quinn Hoff is not crazy. And I'm trying to find. Do you have the optimals? I can't find the optimals.
Yeah, I got the last 4 Coke 600s in front of me. But the thing is when we look at the last optimals, it's kind of weird, right? Because we do see a couple guys, 2 lineups where we had 2 times in the last 4 we had a guy priced at 5,200 and a guy priced at 5,100. So that would classify as close to a punt, right? Yeah. Because when you look at these guys priced here in that 52, 5,100 range, you're looking at Billicky right now at 5,400. So to play that 5,100 range, you're going to have to play a guy like a Billicky, McLeod, Smithley, Davison, Haley, Ware, Starr, Hoff. So it would look like I think if you people were looking at the optimals, it looks like, oh, you don't want to punt because it doesn't show anybody. It doesn't show playing a $4,500 guy. But
who are those cheapest guys in those lineups? I don't know if it's mispricing or an actual punt.
Yeah, we'll talk. 2020, the cheapest guy was Michael McDowell, who started 27th, 5,600, finished 19th. So 8 position difference points. In 2019, the cheapest guy was 5,200. It was Corey LaJoie, started 30th, finished 12th, 18th.
Okay, that's yeah. Okay.
2019. 2018, 5,100. Once again, Corey LaJoie, started 33rd, finished 26th, only for 24 DraftKings points. The next year he scored 50 DK points, so it's a big difference there. But 24 DK points out of a guy priced 5,100 made optimal. And then 2017 it was 6,700 was the cheapest, and that was AJ Allmendinger, who started 26th, finished 18th.
So, Brandon, I'll ask you this because you had mentioned Blaney, too, that you like Blaney this week. So if we're looking to start a lineup, and I'm kind of just using Truex at the top, but a Truex and Blaney, or even if you're kind of going down a little bit and you're starting, let's say, like with a Blaney and a Chase or a Blaney and a Kyle, it leaves you kind of that 7,500 to 8K range left to go. So if we're looking at this range we didn't really talk about, this we'll call it high 8K, mid 8K to the middle. I'll go through these guys real quick and just let me know kind of if there's any interest on some of these guys. Christopher Bell's 8,600. Kurt Busch is 8,400. Tyler Reddick's 8,200. Cole Custer is priced up this week 8K. Eric Almirola at 79. Austin Dillon 77, and Matty D at 75. So that mid 8 to 7, mid 7 range.
Who I like there, or what?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
If you're looking to, like I said, if you're maybe playing your lineups with a Blaney and a Kyle, and you've kind of got room for one or two of these guys, how are you looking at these guys?
I like Reddick too. He hasn't scored well DFS wise in this race, but looking at how and Austin Dillon as well. Like I like both the RCR guys this week. I like where they're priced, and I think they're going to start inside the top 10, and so I don't think people are going to want to play them.
I almost just called you Brayson. Jason. Jason, same thoughts for you with Reddick in this range, or is there anybody else?
Yeah, I agree. I like Reddick and Dillon. I like both the RCR boys this week. But another guy who I think stands out to me in that range, I think you said Kurt Busch, right? He was in there somewhere.
Yep, Kurt Busch is 84.
Yeah, Kurt Busch, yeah. He's got 8 top 10s in the last 10 Charlotte races. Finished 5th and 8th here last season. So far this season, like I said, this is kind of the same worry. He hasn't shown a ton of speed yet on the mile and a half. Finished 15th and 19th at Kansas and Vegas. But I think he's a guy who could show up and definitely show some speed. He has top 10 upside that he's shown that obviously 8 of the last 10 races here. So,
is there anybody we haven't talked about we should talk about?
I'm sure there is, but will we remember them? I don't know.
Brandon, anybody that we didn't mention you wanted to mention?
I can't think of it. Sorry, I was getting distracted. What happened to Westbrook? Did he get hit by a fan?
Watching basketball over there?
No, it's on Twitter. I was looking through.
So what was your initial reaction to those optimals, to the Brandon?
Let me. I stopped looking for them. Tell me who they are, because I have the points. I just don't know who the optimal lineups were. Who were they for the last 2 races? Let's do the last 2.
Last 2 was McDowell, 5,600. And
no, the whole optimal, because I know it's it's probably Truex,
Bowman, Elliott, Blaney, Custer, McDowell. That was 3 guys priced over 9K. It was Truex, Bowman, Elliott. They all 3 scored over 30 Dominator points.
Yeah, you had McDowell with 33. I mean, that McDowell. That was a misprice. That's why I wanted to look at him, because when I look at punt optimal lineups, especially in the past for like races like this, like LaJoie, I mean he did very well finishing that 12th in that race. I can't beat that. He was optimal. He deserved to be there. This McDowell optimal was more so I think he was more mispriced, and the LaJoie before that, I think that's more around. Where your lowest guy should be in that 5K range. The only issue with that this year is how we've seen lineups being made is everybody's using the 6K range, and the 5K range is really dead. Like, it's really hard to use them. Like, in order for, McDowell, unless he just goes out and slaps the field, in order for this week, McDowell, Joy, Alfredo, go ahead.
Sorry, I don't mean to break, but he's only 5,800, right? I mean, he was 5,600 last year when he was an optimal, and he's 5,600 2 years ago when he was an optimal. So, I mean, That's
Yeah,
could be
so
mispriced again, right?
I think 58 is closer than what he is. I was going to say, before I was interrupted,
Sorry,
'cause I do not remember my train of thought. Oh yes, so it's that trade-off again that I talk about every week. Am I going to pay 58 for Michael McDowell, who's going to score me 21 points? Like, I'm just throwing off the top of my head this week. He scores me 21 points. Or am I going to get, Quinn Hoff for 1,300 cheaper, who's going to score me 13 points? I think this is a week where I think it's worth paying down to Quinn Hoff, and you lose that extra 10 points from McDowell, but you're able to grab Bowman and Larson, or Truex, Larson and Christopher Bell, or something like that.
All right, well, let's get into the two and done section of the podcast we do every week. Fourth straight week. It's almost like Brandon's trying to lose, but he's not. His picks are just very, very bad.
Driver? Like, come on.
But see, that's my point, is when you guys made fun of me for picking some of these guys earlier in the year, it's like at some point you got to pick a couple of them. So as you were making fun of me saying how I was down 100 points, how whatever, I've picked 3 of the last 4 winners.
Can
Brandon,
you just beat him so we don't have to hear this every freaking week, Brandon?
Look.
Brandon,
Please.
congratulations. Not only did I beat you this week, but you are in last place.
I'm tired of hearing this.
This guy talks a lot of shit for,
Well, you guys make it easy when your drivers get 18 and 21 points.
Who did you pick last week?
Chase Elliott.
Okay. Who did I pick? Matt Benedetto? Win equity wise. Oh, Eric Jones. Win equity wise. Who has a higher chance of scoring points in every stage?
Well, who had first pick last week and didn't take Chase Elliott?
I don't want to use Chase Elliott.
Well, that's part of the game, is that you're using guys that I already used, earlier in the season when I was yelled at when I used guys like Chris Buescher and Ricky Stenhouse and Chase Briscoe. It's like, oh my God, how are you playing these guys? Well, guess what, Brandon? It is your turn to play some of these guys.
Look, we are still counting votes. There's no reason to stop the count right now. We have a long way to go. We're not even halfway through the season yet.
All I'm saying is I was way behind and I just won Arizona and Georgia, and you're in trouble. That's all I'm going to say.
I know, but we're actually going to count votes again, and I'm going to make sure. I'm going William Byron.
So William Byron, since Brandon gets first pick for being in last place total. So Brandon, William Byron, I will give you. This is your second time using William Byron, so you are done with him for the year.
Oh no! What will you do with no more William Byron?
Shit. All right, so Jason, it's your turn.
Give me Kyle fucking Busch. I'll give the other Busch brother this week.
Oh yeah, you want to talk shit? I was going to leave this out, but I mean, you want to keep yapping over there. Who thought Kurt Busch was retiring over here?
You know what? When I see a NASCAR guy tweet something, like when Jeff Gluck tweets something, I believe it for a second. And then my normal process is until Pockers tweets it doesn't count, and I whatever. But I only sent it to you guys. I didn't send it out to the rest of the Discord.
Should we talk about this on the pod tonight?
Yeah, I mean it's not. I mean everyone gets duped every so often, but I didn't tweet it out. It didn't go out to the public. I sent it to you two, which for all I know, Brandon didn't even know who Kurt Busch is because he doesn't like NASCAR.
I tweeted it out. Don't worry.
So, all right, who should I pick this week? All right, I'm going to pick somebody that I guess I'm going to probably get yelled at because he's not going to be a Kyle Busch or William Byron. I am going to take Tyler Reddick.
What's the point standings look like?
Point standings. Jason is in first place, 507. I'm in second place, 463. Brandon, you are in last place, 447.
I'm closer to you than you are to Jason. What are we arguing about over here?
You were 100 points up and told me that I wouldn't pass you. And I think Jason said I would never get within 100 points of him the rest of the season. I think that was.
I would never say anything like that.
Yeah. I
know I have a tendency to cripple, to have just shit fall apart at the end of everything I do. So I know I don't talk shit until it's over.
So it might. You might be right.
Yeah,
I remember when
we're talking shit after a first quarter lead.
Well, I remember when I picked Chris Buescher, and I think so. You might be right. I think you said that you're going to be still 100 points down after this week, after I picked Chris Buescher, which I wasn't because shout out to Brandon. He picked Kurt Busch, whose car caught on fire 30 seconds into the race, and Kurt Busch got 2 points. So shout out to Brandon for starting that for me. But That's where we are. I mean, we can go through Brandon's last 4 picks. He got 12 points, 2 points, 13 points, and 21 points. It's like he's trying to lose. It's impressive.
Say the names.
Christopher Bell's got 12. See, Christopher Bell, that's a JGR car. You should get more out of than 12 points out of Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell got you 12. Kurt Busch got you 2. Matty D got you 13, and Eric Jones got you 21. You're not playing. I mean, you're not. Eric Jones is only like non-top car.
I've almost been able to pick the guy who wrecks each week. We're doing pretty good there.
That's what I was thinking about. Is you did
if you're gonna be bad, you got to be the best at being bad, man. So
well, and that's what I was thinking about. Is that 2 weeks in a row, or I think it was 2 out of 3 weeks, you picked the guy that wrecked first. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm just gonna start fading the guy in DFS that Brandon picks for 2 reasons. 1, because if it works, it'd be great, and 2, if it works, then I can come on the podcast and tell him how stupid he is. Because there's very few options I get to tell Jason and Brandon how dumb they are in NASCAR because of how much they know.
Because of how often we're right and you're wrong.
Correct.
We are.
How much they know and how little I know.
We get everything right all the time. Well, I'm fucking wrong all the time.
Well, it's great though because people expect
never
you to
wrong.
get things right.
Jason,
They expect me to get things wrong.
Do not be telling people I'm never wrong. This motherfucker is never wrong. I'm putting my mortgage on his advice.
I would too. If I had a mortgage, I'd put it all on Derek Cope in the 500.
The sad thing is, I don't think he's kidding. All right, what were we can do a couple more minutes. We were talking at the end of the pod last week. We can talk a little bit about this week. Still in the Fox booth, Clint Boyer, Brandon. Is it fair for me did Clint Boyer have the job before quarantine last year? Was that kind of already in the works, or do we think that Boyer kind of just impressed everybody over quarantine and then it was, hey Boyer, it's your booth?
No, I'm sure that he had that well before he retired. Forget Boyer. Let's talk about Gordon, man. What about that laugh? That laugh is getting worse.
I always try to talk about positive, and Brandon's like, nope, let's talk about the negative in the booth.
Well, what's positive to say about Boyer? It's like I've seen Twitch streams that are more entertaining than this booth.
I think Boyer brings something to it. I think especially to a casual fan, I think he's entertaining. I think that's what it is.
Listen, I think
he doesn't have that general, kind of old-fashioned NASCAR kind of, you always expected from DW and kind of those guys. Boyer brings kind of a little modern day, like let's go drink some beers perspective to it.
I think it was great to start, right? And I think when Gordon is talking about like actual something going on with the race, like the way a car is handling or what the driver's feeling, when he's describing that stuff, I think Gordon can be fine. It's good. It's when they have these like fake interactions, like when did like Clint Boyer's career become like a shove on the rug for Gordon? He's like always dogging Boyer at every freaking corner, and Boyer's got to sit there and play this kind of like goofy guy role, and it seems like he's just way over the top with it now. Like it's great when it was like authentic, like iRacing, when you see him iRacing and he just says shit randomly because he's driving. Like that's Clint Boyer great. I don't know. Something's happening.
The best Boyer.
I think they jumped the shark. Isn't that the expression?
I think it's the Homer Simpson phenomenon. Like the dumber the better. Like we were recording last week during the iRacing event, but when Boyer nearly took out the leader, like, and then he's like, "Duh, I don't know what I'm doing." Like I'm not entertained by that. I don't.
And it's kind of even like you said, like the less like analysis, like the less detail, like when they're doing iRacing. One of the things that I remember, I'm sure a lot of people remember, is Boyer got into an accident. Like, what happened? He's like, I got bubbled. Everyone knows what that means. I got bubbled. It's just you say that, and everyone knows what that means. But going back to Jeff Gordon, so Jason, and I thought I was crazy because I had to actually listen back to this to make sure I heard this conversation right. So I think Chase Elliott had 4 road wins before last week. I think he's got 5 now, and I think Gordon is the all-time leader with 9 or something. And they were saying, "Hey Jeff, do you think Chase is going to break your record at some point?" And he's like, "Yeah, I probably think so." I mean, Chase might break his record this year. I mean, we've got 5 road courses. I mean, Chase breaking Jeff Gordon's record, that shouldn't even be a question, right?
Definitely shouldn't be. Not with 7 goddamn road courses on the schedule every year. Yeah, I mean, I would think he's definitely going to.
Boyer even called him out for that. I don't know if you guys saw that, but Gordon was like, "Yeah, adding all these road courses definitely helps his chances." And Boyer was like, "Oh, so the reason Chase is going to pass you is because we have all these road courses." And Gordon was like, "No, I said he probably would have anyways." And that was kind of maybe what you talked about a little bit, that authenticity of where Boyer wasn't necessarily just playing like the dumb idiot, whatever. It's like, hey, like let's put a little facts in this. Like, yeah, Jeff, you were great, but let's talk about Chase. Like, he's not going to beat you because there's more road races. He's going to beat you. I mean, that's part of it, but he's going to beat you because he's winning at a 66% clip of these. Anybody?
Well, yeah, I mean, like Gordon was dominating road courses back in an era. Like I think the road course and racing, the experience that these guys have now is a lot different from when Gordon was racing and dominating. I mean, a lot. There seems like you got a lot more. Like I guess we had the ringers back in the day, but I mean, when you have Dinger coming down, and I mean, the Penske guys are always typically pretty good. I think there's just a lot more competition through the field than it just seemed like Gordon back in the day. It was Gordon and Martin were the only two guys that seemed like they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, Martin was pretty good back then as well.
Yeah.
And Stewart, but it's all why do we got 7 road courses, man? Like, are they exciting? Someone sell me on this. Like,
did you guys see some of the drivers?
You know what's depressing?
Saying it was too much.
You know what's depressing is what do we got left? Like 20 races, 22 races, 5 of them.
14 before the playoffs. Yeah.
it's
5
real
of
sad.
them are road course races.
Yeah, we got 5 of those before the playoffs, and we got 2 weeks off for the Olympics. So, I mean, it's either road courses or you're off for 2 weeks. July is gonna suck because it's just nothing to do.
Hey, road courses I think road courses are great for making money on DFS though. Like I think they're just the most fucking predictable races you can have because I think like you pick the good guys who are good at road course races, and if they have trouble, they don't go a lap down. They can often rebound. I mean, I think road courses are, and it also helps if they cut the race short. As I proved to you guys this week that I can fucking win on DraftKings if they would just not race the last 12 laps. And
Yeah, they would just
came out ahead, man. They fucking cut it short, and I smashed.
And so,
and I'm the exact. I'm like intermediates is where I've always had my best at. Just because road courses, I end up having. I think I had everybody who died last week because I had De Benedetto, I had Harvick, I was heavy on Truex. I was heavy on Custer because I knew he was going to come in low owned, and when I saw Custer like 6%, I was like, okay, cool, we got a chance here. Then everybody died. And
I played one lineup,
and
it was Kyle Busch and Chase Elliott.
Yeah.
So I dodged both Hamlin and Truex and Harvick. And I think I had
So-
Buescher. Then I was pretty chalk after that. It was Buescher. I can't remember. Not important.
So Jason posted a video on Twitter of what we call the big one in a cycling event. So Brandon brought it up. We're out for 2 weeks, so I'm just letting you guys know for the Olympics, we're going to do 2 podcasts, and it's going to be for cycling because that's the racing of the Olympics. So Brandon, you better get into it because we've got 4 road cycling events and 12 track cycling events. So I'm expecting road versus track cycling stats from you.
I like cycling. It's interesting, and I like the Olympics. I'm shitting on the Olympics. It does not hold the place and value as it did in history. Like we're not fighting, the USSR. We're not having a dick measuring contest between our, hormone athletes and their, beefed up athletes. But I mean it's entertaining. I like cycling. I like the wrestling. I like the Winter Olympics more. But I'll watch people jump in the air. Watch them snap their legs. I don't know. Like, what do they do in the Summer Olympics anymore?
And I
think that you nailed it. They snapped their leg. That's the event.
I don't know if it was the last Olympics or it was 2 Olympics ago, but like Russia was like suspended, and then all the Russian athletes just like competed under like an independent country.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what they do. It's like, oh, Russia can't compete. It's like, okay, we're going to compete under like the independent like nation of Russia. It's like, no,
They
that's not how.
made up their own country to compete.
Yeah, yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
I think they brought into like all these like logistics and lawsuits. Like, I didn't do it. Like, just because Joe Schmo over there, just because he's drinking water filled with steroids doesn't mean that I should do it. But as Brandon said, it almost used to be like that. Like, it was like, hey, who's got the better steroids in the country? Who's got the better pump you up, get you going kind of thing? Because the Summer Olympics is kind of like that. But Brandon, I mentioned cycling. You said you liked it. Jason, the video you posted. I mean, these guys are just as crazy as these NASCAR drivers. These guys there's 15 of them in a second and a half. When one of them goes down, they all go down, and it's not like they're in a car.
Yeah, it looked like the backstretch of the big one at Talladega, and then it was just guys running over bodies and stuff to get through it. And the one guy went up on the wall. I mean, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, like seriously, like back in the Olympics, when you had everybody competing, go back to the 40s or the 30s when you had Nazi Germany, trying to show their power against the world and everything, and that's when the Olympics mattered. Now it's just, like America has the best athletes.
Who had the TV rights back in the 30s when Nazi Germany? Do we know?
I have no idea. Who cares? CBS? I was like, what kind of question is that?
Well, you said that's when it mattered, so people got to be able to see it for it to matter.
I've never really gotten to that.
Have you ever heard of the radio? Did you not know you could listen?
No, I haven't. What's going
on?
What is that? Is that like a TV with no video? Is that what that is?
Amazing.
So it's like it's like what we're doing now, but it's like live on a station. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Wow. Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like what we're doing right now. I can't see you. You know.
People can only hear our voices.
All right. Anything else before we wrap this up? We've kind of covered a lot of different things.
Oh, well, I also want to add on that cycling video, I did add Dan Weldon's fatal accident audio to that crash if you would want to be entertained.
Of course you did.
That was a brutal incident, man. That's just...
Only Brandon, when you're asking about cycling, will turn it into Nazi Germany and Dan Weldon's death.
I held my breath when he mentioned Nazi Germany. I ain't gonna lie. I was like, oh, no.
Oh my God, where is this guy gonna go now?
It's like that. It's like back when I used to work in radio, and it's like the guy, when you would be the producer and the host would be like, hey, like if I get into this rant a little bit, like get your finger on that button ready, like just in case I say something I shouldn't say. Like it never actually happened, but you could see like, okay, I heard the code word. It's like, all right, the finger's on the button, so hopefully, I don't have to hit a mute on Brandon, but he was good. He just mentioned,
look, man, I love history.
Olympics.
Most people know that. Like, if I actually went to college, I'd probably get a history degree. That's just how it is. But yeah, if you ever want to talk history, chat me up. We'll talk.
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot more history talk to do at some point because we got idiots in Congress comparing COVID to the Holocaust, so that's always fun. But that's my thought. Is when you see Brandon, it's like, you know what? There's always somebody crazier than Brandon. Brandon's just like on like the normal level of craziness. There are crazies and crazy. Hey, like Brandon's not even close to that.
Brandon ain't crazy, but
like I like to imagine the Alex Jones
crazy
of the DFS world. I would really be happy with that comparison.
Yeah, Brandon's not crazy. Here's the thing, right? You have to realize that in life, no matter what thought or opinion you have about anything, and no matter how passionate and how obvious that opinion seems to you, there's always going to be somebody who is just as passionate about the opposite of that opinion. Like always, like you will never have everybody following along with you, or to your view is going to be extreme to somebody. Like I mean, it just always is. I mean, and so I'm sure I doubt people think I'm extreme, but I mean, it's just how you look at it. Like I don't think Brandon's an extreme guy, or I don't think you can.
Oh, extreme and crazy are two different things. I just think Brandon. I'm not saying he's extreme. I just think he's crazy, and not necessarily because of his takes. I'm just Brandon. Brandon's Brandon.
It's my sense of humor, man. I have a very dry and morbid sense of humor, and that's what gets a lot of people.
So let's talk about since we're at the end here, Chase Elliott's spotter. Did he? I didn't broke about that this week, right? So how does that affect? We won't go into too much about what happened, but how does that affect a driver who loses spotter? How long have they been together? Is that going to be something we should worry about going into their race?
Brandon, I think that's for you. I don't think my opinion matters on that.
So, the hot was Gordon's before, right? Or was it Junior's?
I don't know, man. Like I never know who the goddamn spotters are. Like it never.
Yeah, no, he the hunt was with the 24.
He was okay. So I know his voice. I can't remember who he's with. It shouldn't change anything. I don't think it would.
I think TJ Majors was Earnhardt.
He was junior. Yeah, he was juniors. Yeah.
The only thing it changed is it gave NASCAR Twitter something to act self-righteous over and have a powwow about all day today and and give their hot takes and opinion about how bad domestic abuse is. Like, yeah, it's obvious.
So, Brandon, let me ask you a question.
We all have to get out on our soapbox and say how bad it is. Like, we all know it's bad. It's been a while, though, I think, since we've...
Yeah, it's been a while since somebody's beaten their...
I mean, right? But it has, right? I mean, really, you think about it, and, like, the news cycle in the last... Like, when is it? It's been a while.
Yeah, all these drivers and their wife beaters not beating their wives.
It's not even drivers. Well, it wasn't just being like in society.
And it wasn't his wife.
Yeah, Yeah, it was
But-
just some random. I don't know.
Yeah, that doesn't make it different. I'm not saying it.
It makes it better because he didn't know her.
No,
you know?
I'm just saying domestic abuse is domestic abuse. It's violence is violence.
So this wasn't his wife?
No, it was
No.
a girl who was, or woman who was they rented jet skis, and it sounded like they came and they didn't have the proper, like, hey, you can't go yet because you don't have the proper clothing, like the safety, like whatever. So I guess they rented it for an hour. They came back a half hour later. They only gave him a half hour on the jet skis, and he's like, I want another half an hour. She's like, no, just because you didn't show up right doesn't mean whatever. She said he pushed her. That's when it gets into he says, she says, and that's where the cops look at the cameras and see
Wait a minute. I just had an epiphany. Is this the freaking... I didn't realize these two things were related, but I got shared about some jet ski rental place and all the negative reviews on there.
Yeah, that's
I didn't know it was related to this whole thing. And I thought,
Yeah, he was like, "Don't you know who I am?"
Yeah, he basically went to a kind of
championship
sounds like
spot.
not the best, whatever. But Brandon, I'll ask you this.
so
and we'll
this
finish
could
the
be
podcast.
fake, right? I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I always don't want to say it's fake. It's not fake.
I don't know. Now I got to look at these reviews. Have you guys checked out these reviews?
It's definitely a sketchy place, but it's also, like.
Have you, Brandon?
I haven't.
Let's read.
The only thing I'll say, though,
I'm
is-
gonna read one on there. Let's read one there.
Sketchy
Okay,
people
I'll just
go
pick
to
one.
sketchy
I got up
places.
their Yelp, right? I got up their Yelp. This is gonna be fun. Okay, let's see.
Read the third one.
But
I'm just gonna-
I don't have them up. I just like the random
whoever
numbers.
was
Read the third
bitching
one.
about
The
frozen yogurt.
Okay. Beware of renting from WUW. There was a scratch on the boat. This one's not a good one. Okay, let me find a better one. Okay, here's a good one. We had the absolute worst experience with this company, especially the owner, Irene. We rented 2 jet skis for a week during our stay on Lake Norman at a rental house. Irene arrived at the house while her husband and another man delivered the jet skis on the lake. She was extremely rude as soon as I answered the door. She demanded all adults sit outside and watch the safety video. A few minutes into the video, she unplugged the video and started flipping out, saying the dock lift was broken. We had been at the house for less than an hour and hadn't even walked to the dock at that point. The homeowner assured us the lift had been used nearly every week of the summer with no issues before and after our stay. She immediately refused to leave the jet skis and began to storm off the property, accusing us of stealing from a small business without even discussing other options. At that point, my husband asked for a refund, and she lost it. She started calling him names and using profanity while accusing him of threatening her. She said she was going to call the police on him. We never got a refund. Even after filing a dispute with the bank, we were charged $3,000 and never used either jet ski. These people were professional scammers. Do not use What's Up Water Sports.
Man, they need this on People's Court.
That was 9 days ago. So I don't know. Is this because this happened a while ago, right?
It happened in September. All I'll say though is
before.
If you're going to do this and you're seeing these kind of reviews and you go and do it, like sketchy people go to sketchy places. That's all I'll say.
I mean, come on, man. I mean, half the time I don't look at reviews for places. I mean, sometimes I do, right? But I mean,
but I feel like
to be on vacation somewhere and just rent a freaking jet ski, right?
I guess you don't think like with a
Googling.
phone, you don't think you're gonna pull your phone out and Google it and just see like what the place is
I
about.
don't know. Maybe not. If I've been drinking, who knows? I don't know. But let's look at
drinking,
one.
you shouldn't
Let's
be
give
on a
the
jet
benefit
ski.
of the doubt, because like my first thought would be, okay, if this happened in September, right? That's what you said.
Yes.
Maybe they started putting all these fake bad reviews on there to make her look bad when the story came out, right? So we could look back
Look at you. You are so much smarter than me. It's unbelievable.
11 months ago, right? Would put us back before that. Here's a 1-star. Do not trust this company with your credit card information. If anything goes wrong mechanically with the boat, they will make something up to charge you for it. Then when you disagree, they start saying you're threatening us. They should not be trusted. There's a reason they hold on to the $500 deposit rather than the customary credit card authorization. Here's the whole long story. But in short, they should not be trusted because if anything goes wrong, you will be blamed. Yeah, you already said that. Let's get past that. We don't need to read the whole story. But it seems like, God damn, this is a long one. This guy was pissed when he wrote this Yelp review. 8/12/19 is another one. Terrible experience. 11. Yeah. So it's pattern. It's not like that was my concern. But yeah, I mean, maybe she deserved to get hit. I don't know. I'm just joking.
No, don't set Brandon up because then we might have some. No, nobody ever deserves to
But
get.
I was getting ready for you to start reading about Brad's wife and why he fired her. Like,
But I mean, it's just like if there's that many. I mean, who's to trust what this lady said? And maybe that's why if Hendrick knew about it, they didn't really do something because they know it's a legal battle. Who knows?
All right, well, everybody, thank you for listening to the podcast this week. Jason, where can they find more of your NASCAR stuff this week?
Oh yeah, that NASCAR DFS. www.freenascardfs.com. Check out me on Twitter at DFSNASCAR. I'm not sure how I'm going to quite handle the Friday trucks. I think they're doing qualifying, practice, everything same day. Xfinity, I'll probably put something out, and definitely going to have something out for Cup because we're getting practice, we're getting qualifying before race day. Should be a good week. Look forward to hopefully having some fun and not getting too disappointed at the end of it.
Brandon, where can they find your stuff?
You can find me and most likely just my live shows this week on Brandon Cruz DFS on my YouTube. Just how the weekend is, it'll probably just be easier for me to do live shows before the race. But you can find it on Brandon Cruz DFS, YouTube, Patreon, and Twitter. And I think that's about it. I love Charlotte, man. It's a shame they lost the track or they lost the date for the stupid Roval. But that's just me.
All right, and everyone make sure you remember check out my stuff, betwithbommel.com. Not just only NASCAR bets, but gambling tips across all sports. Had a good UFC week last week. Had another good NASCAR week last week. I'm on Twitter as well, gambling DFS tips. Some NASCAR and some other stuff as well. So like we always say, we appreciate you guys listening no matter what platform you're on. Like, rate, review, subscribe. All of that helps us. It's so simple and obviously goes a long way for us, helping us keep this free for you guys and being able to give you kind of that podcast once a week to at least get you started when you're trying to think about your lineups before you go and look at Jason and Brandon stuff. So yeah, all those rating reviews, and Jason's been answering some of those questions on YouTube, so any kind of conversations with him, Twitter, YouTube, all of that, it's kind of always a good spot for it. And we are back next week. I don't even know, where are we next week?
Oh, I don't know.
Was it the All-Star? Who cares?
I guess I should have looked.
I don't even know any of this.
I guess I should have looked that up. We are Sonoma next week.
Oh my God. Jeez.
Yeah, at least we lost the truck race at the road course in Canada. That's got canceled, but then we get the truck series back at Darlington again.
Oh my!
Yeah, we're at
God.
Sonoma next week, and then you got the All-Star the weekend after.
Dude, their scheduling makes no sense. Like, wouldn't it? Like, I know the West Coast swing was kind of messed up but it's so weird to make the Cup teams continuously drive cross country, like they used to back in the day. Like, I mean, I guess it's Sonoma than Texas, but they're still driving across country, and they're not taking, a road course. They're not going to take just one road course car and one all-star car. Like,
don't you know that's why they got they can't do practice or qualifying. They're trying to save these teams money because they're making them drive all over the goddamn country.
Yeah.
So why is it we can do practice and qualifying this week?
Because it's a crown jewel.
So the other races are shit and don't.
Yeah, they're all
it?
shit. Yeah, if you go there, you're dumb fan because they're not even important. Big dumb.
Right.
Are you two finished?
Probably not. We probably can talk another hour after this.
Whenever you hear either of them say that the podcast is too long or they don't like talking about NASCAR or any of that stuff, just remember an hour and 20 into it, we could go for another hour and a half. So if you ever hear Brandon say he doesn't like NASCAR, he likes to talk about NASCAR. Maybe he doesn't like NASCAR, but he likes to talk about NASCAR. That's what
I'm just a talker. You can't shut me up. If you guys are listening at this point, tweet at me at Brandon Cruz DFS on Twitter
to prove it.
Give us things that you want to hear us talk about. Like I'll talk about fucking soil. I like talking about dirt. Dead serious. I like talking about rocks. I like talking about space. I like talking about NASCAR and fatalities. Whatever you want to talk about.
I like space. I like hunting, fishing.
Yeah, let's go.
Hunting, fishing. And that's exactly why he moved up to Michigan, for the hunting and the fishing up there.
Man, there's great hunting and fishing up here. There is. I don't think the white-tailed deer are going to be quite as big as what I'm used to down in the Buckeye State. That's what I've been led to believe my whole life living in Ohio, that they're not as big up here. So we'll find
Another
out.
sport that I know nothing about, hunting. You can add that to the list of multiple sports that I know nothing
Bigger
about.
body deer up here. Bigger body deer up here with the colder temperature. It doesn't necessarily translate to bigger antlers.
So, all right, yeah, so we're back next week, Sonoma. That's pretty much it, as always. On behalf of Jason and Brandon, I am Ryan. Thank you guys for listening. And as Brandon said, thank you guys, especially if you're still listening at this point, because God bless your soul. We know you like us. So thank you guys, and hopefully everyone has a good week this week, and we'll see you next week for Sonoma. Thanks, guys.